All right, I got 2 p.m. on my clock. Let's start promptly. I do want to respect everybody's time. So we got an hour today. I'm just going to introduce myself first. Yet before I do that, I do always like to convey and communicate our intention, our goal for today. So we're going to talk about working with buyers in today's market. And the goal of today, the intention of today is to provide you as much value as we possibly can. And the more value we provide you, the better job I do. So that's exactly our goal, our intention for today. All right, so let's get going. I'm going to pull up my slideshow and we're going to start this party. Here we go. All right. And start. All right. Okay. All right, so my name is Ron Lugashi with the Zamir Group, Keller Williamstown Life, technically out of Tenafly, New Jersey, yet we do have a mega agent office in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, where we sell over 100 homes a year. And our team last year sold 142 million. Year to date, we've already closed over 100 million. Of that, I have closed and pending over 20. So as a buyer's agent on a very large team. So the goal of today, as I said just a few minutes ago, is to provide you as much value as we possibly can. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So I'm going to talk really, really fast. I'm going to communicate a lot of information to you, and I'm going to stop in between each slide so that I can ask if anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, wants to add anything. Okay, so here we go. We're going to talk about working with buyers in today's market conditions. And before we work with buyers, there is something that we do need to work on if we are looking to improve our conversion. What is it? It is ourselves. But we're going, there's a quote. I'm sorry, I forgot. I always like to start with a quote. Jim Rohn quote for you. Your level of success will rarely exceed your level of personal development because success is something you attract by the person you become. It's exactly what we're trying to do here. We learn every single day. I don't know everything. You don't know everything. Yet we're always learning. We're always growing every single day. So back to what I was mentioning before, we're going to work on ourselves before we work with buyers. What does that mean? Well, let's talk about that for a second. The very top of this list, this slide, you see mindset. Does everybody know that voice inside their head? The one that just said what voice? Yeah, that one. So here in KW, we call it drunk monkey. You can also call it self-talk, inner talk, whatever you want to call it. It is there. And what I do know is that the majority of our thoughts that our brain comes up with is junk thoughts, negative thoughts. And what I also know is that junk thoughts, negative thoughts don't necessarily increase the likelihood for positive outcomes. No, positive thoughts increase the likelihood for positive outcomes. So we have to, a good friend of mine, I always quote him on this. His name's Scott Stewart, you might know him. He said, we have to mind our mind, right? So it's really, really important that we work on our mindset continually and always. Personal development, it's always a work in progress. We're always working on getting better. The moment we stop looking to improve ourselves, stop learning, stop growing, that's when we've hit our ceiling. Let's not do that. Let's always be learning, be growing. And skills, there is one skill that many agents think that that's the only skill they're going to need when they obtain their real estate license, and it's called opening doors. And while that is a very useful skill to have, it's not the only skill that we need if we're going to improve our conversion with buyers. And we're going to talk about skill set on the next slide in more detail. Goals. Always recommend, always encourage agents have their goals, 135 GPSs, business plans, whatever you want to call them. It does help you create a path forward, helps push you toward an outcome, an achievement, a result that you're looking for. It really, really does encourage you to have them. If you don't have a business plan, your market center will definitely help you create one for you. Focus Also, always a work in progress, especially being on a high volume team with a lot of activity. There's always something flying at us. There's always something that will be there to distract us, and it's coming at you, and you're running to it, and it's coming at you, and you're running to it, and it's coming at you, and you're just all over the place. Yet, I do know that if we focus on the income generating activities first, we make those our priorities, we will be better off, right? So that is always an issue for many, many agents. And of course, action and results, they go hand in hand. The more action we take, the more activity we have, the more results we have. And if we take massive action, we get massive results. And if we take no action, we get no results, right? And there is a missing piece of that puzzle. It's called consistency. We're gonna, that word's gonna pop up quite a few times in the next hour. And any action, any activity that's consistently done will reap consistent results. And any activity that's inconsistently done will reap inconsistent results. And of course, once we work on ourselves and we prepare and we get better, then we can build rapport, trust, confidence, competence, communicate expertise to the client, customer, prospect, consumer, whatever you want to call them. And then we get to the real estate part where we can improve our conversion. All right, let's get into it. So I always like this topic of discussion. It's a pretty interesting one. It comes up quite often, and it's called market conditions. Can anybody please unmute yourself and share with me what kind of market conditions are we under right now?
How about interesting market conditions?
Guess. If you had to guess, is it a seller's market? Is it a buyer's market? What type of market are we in?
Seller's market.
I feel it's a seller's market now, but it may
No guesses?
transition into a buyer's market.
All right, I'll share with you my opinion. We are in a very strong seller's market, yet it's stabilizing a little bit, and it's becoming what I call a funny market. All right, so over the past few weeks, if you've been paying attention, it's shifted from a very strong, crazy, volatile, difficult, challenging seller's market to still a strong seller's market, but with funny scenarios popping up here and there, right? So when working with buyers, you're seeing all kinds of different things depending on the type of product and area you're walking into. And that's what I'm seeing on the ground. So regardless of market conditions, whether it be a seller's market, a buyer's market, a funny market, up, down, sideways, we are what? What are we working on? Our skill set, right? So it's a skill-based market. We're always in skill-based markets. You might need different skill sets for different markets. So let's talk about that in more detail. Skills. What kind of skills should a buyer's agent be working on? Well, there's a list in front of you. Let's review that list real quick. Mindset, time management, communication, preparation, setting expectations, strength and patience, pre-qualification, follow-up, presenting, handling objections, and closing. And of course, that's not even all of the skills that a buyer's agent would necessarily be need to working on, yet they are ever ending. They never really end. We're always working on them. We're always getting better in each and every single one of them. Do any of these pop out at you as maybe being a little bit more important right now, or something you should focus on more so than the others? You can just go ahead and unmute yourself and shout it out, because I can't.
Pre-qualification.
Say again, I didn't hear you.
Pre-qualification.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. That's one of my most important ones as well. And I'll share with you that I've been on this team for 6 years now, and it's always been a very active team with lots of activity. Yet in the beginning, when I first started, I was going on many more appointments and doing less business compared to now, which I'm going on less appointments and doing much more business. So how is that even possible? Pre-qualification. You see, many of the calls that come in, they're not that great, or they're, if we don't pre-qualify, we don't know how much time, energy, and effort to actually invest in these prospects, consumers, leads that come in. And what we discover is that once we ask them a few questions, we discover that, they're just calling to waste our time. Half of them already have agents, half of the calls that come in. So if you don't ask them questions, you'll never discover the answer. And then we're going to be these jump and run, go and show agents. And that's not going to obtain the outcome that we're looking for. And trust me, because I've been there, I did that. It doesn't work. I encourage you to pre-qualify. If you're going to internalize one script, make it in a pre-qualification script. So what else? Any one of these other than pre-qualification that pops out at you as being maybe a little bit more important, or something that we should be focusing on right now or always? Again, you can just unmute yourself and shout it out, because I can't see raised hands right now.
Follow up.
Yeah, follow up. I'd say we're going to cover this in a few more slides. We're discussing improving conversion at open houses. In general, agents are just terrible at following up, and that's the majority of us. I'll include myself because I'm an agent, and there's always room for improvement. And follow up, I'll tell you, it's not that we can't arrive at the outcomes, our goals that we're looking to achieve. We definitely can if we don't follow up. If we do follow up, we'll just need less leads to do it. So if you follow up on a consistent, systemized way, you'll need less leads to arrive at the business goals that you're looking to achieve, compared to you can still achieve your business goals. You're just going to need more leads to do it if you don't follow up. That's just an easy way to communicate it, right? Any other questions, comments, anything anybody want to add before I go to the next slide? Awesome. All right. So there's a tool that's not utilized as much as it should by agents in our industry, and it's called a buyer consultation, also known as a buyer presentation, also known as a buyer discussion. And I'm going to give you for instance, when I used to do the physical classes, I used to ask them the question, well, how many of you sitting in the room have purchased a home prior to obtaining your real estate license with a real estate agent? And about half the room raises their hand. It's usually between 40 and 50% of the room. And then I asked the follow-up question. And that follow-up question is, well, how many of those agents sat you down, discussed the buying process, spoke about the market conditions, and answered any questions you had before showing you homes? And it didn't matter if it was 10 people in the class. It didn't matter if it was 100 people in the class. The response was always the same. It was always between 0 and 1. Now that's very telling. Now, what is that telling? It's telling me that there's a lot of opportunity for us. Why do I say that? What makes me say that? We have an opportunity to be better than the 99% of the other agents just by doing one of these, because the majority of agents are not conducting them. Now, what would prevent a traditional agent, not us, of course, what would prevent a traditional agent from conducting one of these buyer consultations, buyer presentations, buyer discussions? What do you guys think? Just unmute yourself and shout it out. What could possibly prevent an agent from conducting one of these?
I don't think you should avoid it. It's something very important to understand the requirements and the mindset of a buyer. So that should be the first thing you should do before.
Absolutely. So if it's so important, then what's preventing your traditional agent from doing it?
Could they think that it's going to be a waste of time?
Oh, a waste of time. Well, let me ask you a question. Does it take longer to sit somebody down, discover what they're looking for, spend about 30 minutes on it, or does it take longer to show them 30 homes?
30.
Longer to show 30 homes.
Of course it does. So that reasoning or that excuse that agents might use often, it doesn't make sense. What else? What else is preventing your traditional buyer's agent from conducting one of these buyer consultations?
Lack of knowledge about the market.
Yeah, you can't give what you don't have, right? And we're going to cover it later on too. As a buyer's agent, can you communicate the buying process if you don't know the buying process? The answer is no. Can you communicate the market conditions if we don't know the market conditions? The answer is no. And can we communicate how to strengthen an offer in multiple offer situations if we don't know how? And the answer is no. Again, there's a little bit of footwork, a little bit of preparation that's required by us and the agents as well, so that we can best prepare our clients moving forward. You can't give what you don't have. And a lot of times, agents will say, I just don't know what to say. And when I'm going to ask the question, well, don't we discuss the buying process every single day with potential clients? And don't we discuss the market conditions with people every single day? And don't we answer real estate related questions every single day? Well, that's the structure of a buyer consultation. So I'm going to go back and forth for a second here. I always like to say the structure of a buyer presentation is really, really easy to internalize. And that's because we've all been to school, we've all written essays, and it looks something like this. There's an intro. Tell me about yourself. There's a conclusion, a close. Hire me, work with me, choose me. And there's a body. What's in the body of the buyer presentation? It's a needs analysis. Tell me what you're looking for, buying process, market conditions. You see, you know exactly what to say. Maybe you just didn't know how to structure it. Now, here's the best part. You, we, me cannot get this wrong. What makes me say that we cannot get this wrong? The person sitting across from you, whether it be virtually, physically, they don't know what you're supposed to say. So you can't get it wrong. You see, if you forget to say something, it's okay. They don't know. You can always talk to them about it later on. You cannot get this wrong. So I would encourage you and recommend just do it. All right. So what's the benefits? We spoke about what's preventing agents from conducting one of these buyer consultations. What's the benefit? Well, there's a short version. The short version is on the top right of your screen. It increases the likelihood they work with us and nobody else. All right. They're going to walk out of these meetings thinking, I don't want to work with another agent. Right. Because you're doing something which the majority of agents just do not do. The longer version, yes, it helps build rapport, trust, loyalty, communicate competence and confidence, and it allows us to set the expectations, them of us and us of them. And if you don't set the expectations, they will set their own. And when they set their own, surprises happen. So if you like surprises, don't set expectations. If you don't want surprises and you want a smooth transaction, this would be a good opportunity to do so. The better we prepare a client for what happens next, the more smooth the transaction will be. Answer any real estate related questions. Educate them at the buying process. When I say emotions make them act, it's actually a bold law. Logic makes them think, emotions make them act. As real estate agents, there's a few things that we do not say enough. And it's emotional statements like, I will take good care of you. I'm going to find you a home that you're going to enjoy for many years to come. And trust me, and I'm going to make it happen for you. And all these emotional statements that don't have any logic connected to them at all, we just don't say that enough. Sometimes a buyer just needs to hear the simple words, everything's going to be okay. As human beings, we like to hear it from another human being. Everything's going to be okay. It lowers our anxiety level. That's all you need to say sometimes, right? So there's one thing that's not on this list. It's handling the majority of the objections up front. So you're going to handle the objection, up to 90% of the objections during these consultations, presentations, discussions, whatever you want to call them. And then we're going to have less issues moving forward. The better we prepare them for what happens next, the more smooth it will be. Now, just a small tip before we exit this particular topic. If you want to be better than 99% of the agents out there, all you have to do is implement and internalize one thing. At the end of every conversation you have with a buyer, use the most underused words in real estate by real estate agents, which is, Mr. and Miss Buyer, this is what happens next. Why do I say that that's of value to the buyers? That's a benefit to the buyers. You see, we're human beings too. And when we don't know what happens next, how do we feel? How do we feel? We feel frustrated, upset, anxious, more likely to get angry. There's a lot of other negative emotions. They're not necessarily going to remember everything that we're saying during the buyer consultation. So during the buyer consultation, when you're communicating value proposition, we're going to say, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I don't expect you to remember everything that I'm saying today, yet at the end of every conversation, I will always tell you what happens next. Would that be helpful to you? The answer is yes. That's just a good way to communicate value proposition, which gets me into the next topic. But before I go to the next topic, does anybody have anything that they want to say, add, question, comment? Awesome. All right, let's go next. So let's talk about value proposition. Now, what makes value proposition so important, especially as a buyer's agent? Well, I'm going to ask you a simple question, and then you'll discover very, very swiftly how important this is. What does it cost to hire a buyer's agent in the state of New Jersey? Can anybody tell me?
Nothing.
Nothing. Wait a minute. If you're telling me that it costs nothing to hire a buyer's agent, so that means I can hire an expert or an amateur for the same price of $0? That's what you're telling me? And that's
I
what,
mean, yeah.
that's what makes value proposition so important. So if you're looking to improve your conversion, just provide more value than your traditional agent. Now, I will share with you that the majority of buyers end up hiring, it's about 70% end up hiring the first agent they meet face-to-face. So it's really important to get that face-to-face. Yet, what will improve your conversion even more so is if you communicate value proposition. What kind of value proposition can we communicate? Well, it's on this list, of course. This covers most of them, if not all of them. Expertise, knowledge, previewing homes, obtaining in multiple offer situations, over communication, negotiation skills, accommodating them, vendor networks, off-market homes, preparation and guiding them, understanding the local market. And of course, there's a few other ones that may not be on here yet. You don't need a dozen different value propositions either. One or two will do the job in improving your conversion as well. It's always nice to have as many as possible, though. How do we communicate value proposition is pretty important. And I say that how is important because the majority of agents don't have a challenge knowing their value proposition. The majority of agents have a challenge, difficulty in the communication of their value proposition. And I'll give you an example. If I asked everybody here, I'm not asking you to answer it out loud, but if I asked everybody here a simple question, how would you respond at a moment's notice? And that question being, why should I hire you? Why should I choose you? Why should I work with you? How would you respond at that very moment? In words, in clear words. That's the challenge that the majority of agents have. So I'm going to give you guys a tip.
You can't do that.
No? I'm going to teach you how. I can't just just do that. So what we can do is this. I'm going to give you guys a tip. Whatever it may be, so blank, and then insert this transition. Would this be helpful to you? Is this a benefit to you? Is this a value to you? And what it looks like is, Mr. and Ms. Buyer, if I saw every home before you did, would that be helpful to you? Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, would it be helpful to you if I provided you information on homes that are not yet on the market before anybody else? Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, would it be of value to you to work with a local expert compared to a somebody that doesn't do much in this area? Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, so on and so forth. So it's just an easy way to communicate value. And at the same time, what we're doing is we're actually obtaining compliance. We're obtaining yeses. Now, how does this look in our conversations, whether it be first contact, whether it be buyer consultations? Well, throughout the structure, throughout our presentations, we're communicating value, value, value. We're obtaining yes, yes, yeses. And then when we're looking for the conversion or the close, it's an easier conversion / close, right? So that's how it looks like, and that's how everything connects. Any questions? Anything anybody want to share about value proposition or anything else I said before we move forward? Awesome. Let's keep going. So buyer's agents, or just in general agents, they always approach us and they always ask, well, what should I be doing with my time? Well, one of the roles of an agent, of a real estate agent, of this occupation that we've chosen for ourselves happens to be lead gen, right? So what do we do? What kind of lead gen activities are we choosing to do? There's no right or wrong. It's what you would like to choose to do. So what kind of activities can we choose to do? Well, these are some of them. These are not even all of them. And obviously open houses and for sale by owners and expires and social media and door knocking and circle prospecting and sphere and networking events and landlords and business groups and vendors and farming and code leads and builders and probate, investors, absentee owners and referral networks. And of course, there's probably another dozen other ones that are not even on this list. There's no right or wrong. Select 1, 2, or 3 to focus on and don't worry about the rest. Become an expert in something. As specialists, make more money than jack of all trades. Become a specialist, right? So get better at these particular activities and you will benefit from it. So when we're talking about the next slide, we're going to discuss how improving conversion at open houses, yet everything I say works for any other activity that you're doing. So when we're talking about for sale by owners, expires, social media, door knocking, whatever, it's about systemizing it. So as I'm discussing the systemizing of an open house, that'll help us improve our conversion, just kind of change whatever lead gen activity you're doing into it and see how that works, right? Because when we're creating our goals, creating our business plans, our 135s, our GPSs, we're going to have our goals and we're going to have our priorities and we're going to have our strategies. So if lead gen is a priority in order to arrive at our goals, then what are our strategies? And then you have to spell out your system for it. So let's talk about that. Before I go on to the next slide, any questions, comments, issues, complaints?
I think what happens, I'm a new agent, a relatively new agent. So for me, what challenge I'm having is that even if I do come across an agent who is walking through an open house and doesn't have representation, they'll respond to my text, my email, my call the first time. And then after that, they go turkey. And I follow up every week with them with the text. I do not leave voice messages, but I'll follow up with email. But then you don't hear anything back. And that's been my experience with pretty much all the buyers, where they'll have a conversation, they'll tell you your needs. And a lot of them they get put off by the pre-qualification, asking them if they're pre-qualified. And if I send them a lender, after that kind of puts them off. And then they just don't want to have any conversation with you.
So that's normal. And there's a reason that's normal. The majority of buyers that walk into open houses, or the majority of leads, contacts that we make, regardless of the avenue, where they come from, they're not ready, willing, and able to buy or sell at that very moment. So the majority of leads that come in from online internet sites or from open houses, the majority of them just are not ready, willing, and able buyers or sellers at that very moment. So it requires following up with them. So it's to get ghosted is normal. So you just keep following up until they tell you to stop, which is actually a rare occasion. It doesn't happen that often. They're looking for information. They're not ready yet. So that's normal. Okay. That's okay. There's different ways that we can improve our conversion and improve our response rates. That'll help us improve our conversion. So there's 2 different discussions. We'll kind of touch upon it right now as we get into improving conversion at open houses. So again, this is a lead gen activity by all means. There are ways to improve our conversion with open houses as buyers agents, as new agents, even veteran agents. Many agents, they conduct open houses and use it as a lead gen activity to meet buyers and sellers. Yes, both buyers and sellers. So let's talk about that. So as we're forming our GPSs, 135s, our business plans, there is a requirement, and that requirement is intention. What do you intend on getting out of it? Now, what makes intention so important and why it's at the very top is, well, if you have intention, it will increase the likelihood that the result you're looking for will occur. Simple as that. So when I ask, well, what is your intention? What do you intend on getting out of doing open houses? And how many open houses do you intend on doing? Now we can prepare for it. Now your brain can prepare for it. Yet I will extend that. I'll also say, what do you intend on getting out of this class? And then you're more likely to get what you're looking for if you walk into this class with intention. And what do you intend getting out of your future phone conversations before you pick up the phone? when you think about your intention, the result, the outcome of those conversations, whether it be a sphere, a for sale by owner, an expired call, a door knock, whatever it may be, what do you intend on getting out of that particular activity before you even take action? It's all very important, and I'll even add to that one more on a personal level. What do you intend on happening when you walk in through your front door? Right? What do you intend? Do you intend on taking all of your baggage, all of the difficulties and the frustrating experiences that you had throughout your day, which is inevitable to happen in our line of work, and lay it on your family? Or do you intend on putting it aside and telling them how grateful you are for them and seeing them smile and hearing them laugh and spending some quality time with them? Intention is so very important, and it does help us improve our conversion, whether you know it or not. So how many open houses do you intend on doing a year? And there's no right or wrong answer. And again, you can take this to any other lead gen activity. How many do you intend on doing? Is it 20? Is it 40? Is it 100? It's all very possible, yet write that down in your business plans, right? And then, of course, we can prepare for it. So if you're doing 100 open houses, well, that's pretty much 2 a weekend. If you're doing 50, that's 1 a weekend, because there's only 52 weeks a year. And if you're doing 40, so be it. And if it's 25, it's every 2 weeks. Now we can prepare for the entire year. We know that we're going to be doing this many open houses. Also, what do you intend on getting out of every activity, every open house that you're doing? In this case, you're going to say at least 1 buyer lead and 1 seller lead. And what makes that important is that our brain is going to be looking for those opportunities. So since our brain is looking for those opportunities, it will be more visible to us. That's why it's important. So you're going to have intention. Mindset. Why is mindset, again, at the top of the list? Again, what makes this so important? How does it help us improve our conversion? Well, you may know this, you may not know this. While people cannot read your mind, they know what you're thinking. Now, what makes me say that? I'll give you an example. Have you ever been in a conversation with somebody you just knew, couldn't wait to get out of that conversation? All of us have been there. So my question to you is, well, how did you know if they did not say it? Well, 93% of our communication is body language and tonality. So whether you know it or not, they will know if you want to be there or not. So if you're thinking, I can't wait to get out of here, you might be wasting your time. Your conversion will be less. And if you're thinking, I can't wait to help them, I can't wait to help them find a home that they're going to enjoy for many years to come, it's going to improve our conversion, since they can tell what we're thinking, whether you know it or not. So mind your mind. Scripts. Now, your traditional agent has a script. Yes, they do. And the script goes something like this. Welcome, come on in. Thanks for coming to the open house. Take a look around. If you have any questions, let me know. And that is a script by all means. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I am saying there is a better one. If you are going to internalize a script, have it be a pre-qualification script. And this goes for any activity that we're doing, whether it's an incoming lead, a sign call, an online lead, open houses, or just a random phone call. Internalize your pre-qualification scripts. It will help you obtain more information. It will let you know how much time, energy, and effort to invest in those particular prospects, consumers, buyers, sellers, whatever it may be. Internalize those scripts. It goes a long way. As part of your system, when do I start the script? Do you start it as soon as they walk in? Do you begin when they enter the kitchen? Or do you do it as you're walking throughout the house? Once you internalize it, it will be more conversational. It's not going to feel like an interrogation. You just have to say it many, many times, right? So when somebody comes in and you're going to ask them, well, where are you visiting me from? Where do you live? And they'll tell you, well, I live in Ramsey, New Jersey. And I'm saying, great. Well, how long have you lived there for? Do you own or do you rent? And if they say, well, I own, the follow-up is, well, I need to ask, or I have to ask, do you need to sell in order to buy? And they say yes. Congratulations, you have a listing appointment. Yet, I will tell you that if you do not ask the question, you will not get the answer. So ask the question. Now, if they say, well, we rent, well, does your lease expire shortly or is it month to month? Well, it's month to month. Oh, great. So you just need to, we just need to find you the right home, the perfect home. Or my lease expires in December. Well, I need to ask, can you terminate that lease if we find you the right home, the perfect home? No, we cannot. Now we know how to follow up with them, how much time, energy, and effort to spend on them, if we should be showing them homes or not. Yet, if you don't ask the questions, you won't get the answers, right? How long have you been looking? It's a pretty important question. It leads to all kinds of things. Is this the only area that you're looking in, the price range, so on and so forth? Because obviously, if they've been looking for a year and a half and they've seen many, many homes, you also want to ask, well, have you submitted any offers? Yes, we've lost out on a few. Well, since you've submitted offers, are you working with an agent at the moment? Are you still working with those agents? Because obviously they submitted offers with agents. You want to discover as much information as you can. And again, when you do it, there's no right or wrong. It's whatever's best for you. Sign-in forms, they are very helpful when obtaining information. There are different forms of sign-in forms. Obviously, there's the apps, and there's they scan the barcodes, and it's computers and iPads, and of course there's the old documents. So there's no right or wrong. I do encourage you to have a sign-in form that helps you obtain as much information. Again, when you obtain that information, as soon as they enter in the kitchen, whatever, that's part of your system. There's no right or wrong. It's whatever works best for you. Now, I'm going to pause on this next one. I'm going to pause this next one because it's called items of value. Now, what makes the items of value so important that we need to spend an extra minute on it is to understand that items of value help us obtain mind share, right? To stay top of mind. These consumers, these prospects, they're going from open house to open house. They're meeting half a dozen different agents. We want to stay top of mind. That will help us improve the response rate, right? So what kind of items of value can we provide? Well, there's food and beverage, right? You're always walking into open houses and they used to have donuts and bagels and orange juice and water and whatever, and chips for the kids, and okay, fine. And cake pops, there's all kinds of different things for food and beverage. Those are items of value because it's a physical item that I'm providing the other person. Of course, we can provide them with information like checklists for buyers, or list of other open houses or other available properties. Yet there is, it could also be magnets and keychains and whatever. I want to share with you, there is an item of value that I believe is very, very important to many home buyers, whether they be first time or repeat buyers, and it's called an offer, right? A purchase agreement, a sales contract, or a sample one for that. Now, I'm not saying give it to everybody, yet it is an item of value for them. Now, if you have a branded folder, or just says KW on it, and you have an offer in one, and you have a home buyer's guide in the other, that is an item of value. If I'm giving it to them, it does make you more memorable. And when you do reach out to them, whenever it may be, depending on your follow-up system, they're going to remember you. Oh, you're the agent that gave me the magnet. Oh, you're the agent that gave me the bagel. Oh, you're the agent that gave me the KW app. Oh, you're the agent that gave me the sample offer. Or you're the agent that's the expert in the area. Or you're the agent, you're the agent, you're the agent. Do you see how you gain top of mind with items of value? That's why it's important. Now, I'm not saying give it to everybody. That's a lot of office supply, a lot of paper. You could always email it to them if you want to be eco-friendly, or you can just text it to them. That's also an option that could be part of your follow-up system, which gets us to follow-up, right? So when we're talking about follow-up, we said it before. It's okay not to follow up. You'll just need more leads to get to the outcome you're looking for. Yet if we do follow up in a consistent, systemized way, you'll need less leads to do more business. That's just the way that things work. So the majority of agents could utilize a follow-up system and be consistent with it. You can definitely do something once and not reap results out of it, yet anything done consistently will reap your results. And it doesn't have to be too glamorous, too crazy. It can be something very, very simple. There's no right or wrong. It's whatever works best for you. You want to do 4 touches, 5 touches that first week, amazing. You want to do 2 touches in the next week, fine. You want to do 1 touch a month thereafter, fine. Again, there's no right or wrong. I would always encourage you to put them on prospect, on drips, and on newsletter campaigns and smart plans and all that fun stuff. It's automated. Automate what you can. When we're talking about having a consistent follow-up system, it does include some personal touches. Again, when they exit the open house, are you sending them a thank you text? Do you call them? Obviously, the phone call is the most powerful type of communication. Do you email them an intro email with a little bit of information, more information about you attached to it, maybe a home buyer's guide? Do you send them a handwritten note if you have their address? Do you send them a video, a social media? Do you connect on social media? Do you send them a DM? There's different forms of communication. Again, there's no right or wrong. It just depends what you want your follow-up system to look like. Obviously, sharing your KW is another one. So there's a lot of different ways to follow up. Choose your system. Make it 4 touches, 2 touches, 1 touch a week, a month. Just be consistent, and you will reap the results. It will go a long way. Music. Definitely, have music, make it a more enjoyable setting. Have lots of signage. This could also be part of your system, of course. How many signs you have when you're doing your business plans, your GPSs, under strategies. I'm going to have 8 signs, 10 signs, 12 signs, 2 flags, whatever it may look like. Have it as part of your system. Be consistent with it. Every open house, put the same amount of flags, same amount of signs. What that does is, especially when you're being strategic with your lead gen activities and you're doing it in the same niches, people will recognize that you're inside the property before entering the property. So I'll give you for instance, if you are being very strategic and you are doing, let's say 40 open houses a year, and you're doing it in the same neighborhood, and you're doing open house after open house after open house, which is amazing for branding, and you're doing it the same way, yes, that's exactly what's going to happen. Before they even enter the property, they will know that you are in there. So lots of signage. Of course, I have to put an asterisk next to this. There are some towns that don't allow any signs. So know your local rules and regulations, yet if they have unlimited signs, go for it, all right? So be consistent with your signage as well. Expertise. Now, I saved the best for last. What makes expertise so important, so valuable to improving our conversion at really anything, not just improving at open houses? Well, there's 2 types of discussions that happen at open houses with real estate agents. It is the ones with the experts and the ones that are not experts. And the one with the expert is so much better in converting compared to the not, for one major reason. If you're not an expert and you don't know the information, like the local schools and the local transportation and even the population, how many homes are for sale, or the inventory or anything like that, the agent, it will typically respond by saying, you know what, I'll get back to you, I'll send you an email. Compared to an expert, which already has seen all the inventory, knows all the different properties, the ins and the outs, the town, the niches. They're a specialist in that area, and they can answer all the questions that can possibly come up at a moment's notice, at that very moment. And they can say, well, based on what you're looking for, I would recommend seeing properties A, B, C. Those are the top product for you. Would it be helpful to go see all 3 of them in one shot? It'll take us about 45 minutes, or next door to each other. Do weekends or weekdays work better? You can go for the close right then and there. You're a walking computer. You're a walking CMA. You don't need to go to the computer. You don't need to email them anything at that moment. You can go for the appointment. They can tell you're an expert without you saying that you're an expert. Now, one thing that you all should know, there is this new invention, and it does help us gain expertise in an amazing way. And the name of that new invention, it's called Google. Okay. Now, Google will tell you the population of the town. It will tell you where the nearest bus stops are, where the nearest train stations are, where the population size, and it will tell you anything and everything that you need to know about a particular town. Now, it won't take you more than 10 minutes to go on the MLS, to go on Google, to look up all the information needed in order to convert at a better rate. Yet many agents just walk into the open house not knowing anything, not spending any amount of minutes getting to know what's what's in the area as far as schools, transportation, best pizza shops, ice cream, whatever. You get familiar with the area as much as you can prior to conducting an open house. It will go a long way, and I would say go as far as seeing all of the comparables, all the competition in the same price range. I would encourage all agents to go see, if you're looking to be a specialist or in a particular niche or area, go see all the inventory. That will definitely help you become an expert in the area. Yet, if you're coming from the outside in to a different town, you're not familiar with it, there can't be that many homes in any particular town in the same price range. So if you're doing an open house on a $500,000 house, there can't be more than 2 or 3 other homes that are currently available in the market. See if you can preview them before the open house for one major reason. It provides you the expertise, the ins and outs. You know the pros, the cons, the layouts. You can communicate all the information to the client since you've already seen it. It doesn't take long to preview a property. How long does it take? 3 minutes, 5 minutes for each house? Definitely encourage you to go do that. Any questions? Anybody want to ask before we move on to the next slide about anything? Awesome. Cool. Well, if you do, just unmute yourself and talk, because I can keep going. So here we go. Incoming leads. So, it's a topic of conversation that comes up often. How do we improve conversion with incoming leads? And it doesn't matter if it's an online lead or a sign call or whatever it may be. There is a way to improve our conversion. And the name of this game is called Speed to Lead. Now, what makes me say that? Why is the name of the game in this case Speed to Lead? Today's consumer is very instant gratification. They want their answers today. They want to see houses today. Response time is critical. If you are not the first one to respond to them, somebody else will. And if somebody else does respond back to them and schedule the appointment, then good luck trying to convert them later. Your conversion rate goes way down. So yes, speed to lead, get back to them as soon as you possibly can. Be the solution to their problem. And of course, scripts go a long way. I'm going to repeat myself what I mentioned earlier. Do not be one of those jump and run, go and show agents. Don't have your script be, oh, you want to see 123 Main Street? Great, I'll see you there at 6. While that is a script, that is not the best possible script. The best possible script is your pre-qualification script. They will answer your questions. It is a very rare occasion that somebody does not answer one of your questions, especially if you're looking to help them out. So again, internalize your pre-qualification script, discover all the necessary important information, and you will find out exactly how much time, energy, and effort to invest in this particular prospect. I will share with you, if you haven't discovered it yet, the public, consumers, they have no problem wasting our time. So if you don't ask the questions, you will allow them to do just that. You will allow them to waste their time. Again, one of the best questions is to ask them, how long have you been looking? And it leads to all kinds of different answers. Well, I've been looking for 6 months. How have you been looking? Oh, just, open houses and physically viewing. Well, since you're physically viewing open homes, and I have to ask, are you working with an agent? Yes, we are, but they're on vacation. They're getting married. They're not available this particular day. They're going to waste your time. So ask the questions. Do not be afraid to lose. That's why the typical agent is not asking the questions. You're not losing anything. You're discovering how much time to be investing in this particular prospect. Vocal cues, another small subconscious way to improve rapport. If they speak very loud, you're going to increase your volume. If they speak very low, you're going to lower your volume. And of course, our goal is to get the appointment. We are appointment getters. We are appointment wakers. And of course, if we do not or are not able to do so, we are going to follow up. Again, it does require follow-up with the majority of these leads. Many of the incoming leads, many of the open house leads, they just are not ready, willing, and able at that very moment. And for today's market, I will add willing to do anything. An A buyer of today, and my definition of an A buyer of today is ready, willing, and able and willing to do anything, because there is a high level of competition out there. So we have to prepare them for it. And if they are not prepared to do what it takes, they are not an A buyer. So last but not least, and then we'll go to a little bit of Q&A. We should have a few minutes left for that. I don't know if you guys know this also, just because we have an accepted offer on something does not mean we're getting to the closing table. There is such a thing known as a fallout rate. There are different ways that we can improve the likelihood it does make it to the closing table. And of course, this first column on the left, I call it the multiple offers. And yes, we are still seeing many, many multiple offers, maybe just not at the level we've seen it a few weeks ago, yet it is still very competitive out there. We're seeing different types of scenarios. Well, how do we improve the likelihood that we obtain for our clients in multiple offer situations? Well, relationship with agent is at the very top. What makes me say that? Well, let's just say theoretically, there's a scenario. Mr. Scott Stewart is the listing agent on a property, and he has 8 offers, and the top 2 offers, they're very comparable, very close. And one of the offers, he doesn't know the agent, doesn't know their lender, and the other one is me. And I, of course, I've done business with Scott in the past, and he knows what I say, what I do what I say. He knows my attorneys, he knows my lenders, and more importantly, he knows I will get it to the closing table no matter what. Which offer is he selecting? Probably mine. So a relationship with agent does go a long way when the listing agent is making recommendations and providing opinions to their sellers. Of course, even as a new agent, you can create relationships with agents. How so? Just do the footwork to become what's next on the list, expertise, right? Go see the inventory, get to, speak to the other listing agents in any market you are in. Doesn't matter where you are in the country. There's always a handful of agents that do most of the market share. They will get to know you, you get to know them, they get to know what you look like, get to know what they look like, and it's still a pseudo relationship, right? And even if you've never spoken to them or never seen them before, there is a tip I'm about to provide you, and that will go a long way in you being better than 95 to 99% of the agents out there. And that tip is pick up the phone. What makes picking up the phone so important? What makes it better than the majority of agents out there? Well, I will share with you. We have multiple offer situations in our team. We have lots of listings. They get multiple offers all the time. It is actually a rare occasion that a buyer's agent actually picks up the phone and asks questions. It's actually, I would say the ratio is probably 1 out of 10. So for every 10 offers, you get 1 agent that calls and asks some questions. So if you want to be better than 90% of the agents out there, all you have to do is pick up the phone and ask some questions. Just doing that will make you better than the rest. It will also increase the likelihood that you obtain in these multiple offer situations, also obtain more information that you can communicate back to your buyers. If you don't ask the questions, you will not get any answers. So just pick up the phone. Expertise goes a long way, especially when we can communicate to our buyers advice and strategies and options, and they can select one, right? So we're advising them, we're consulting them, and then they get to choose how they would like to move forward. By having that special ability of being able to know or dictate to our buyers not what they're willing to pay, what another buyer is willing to pay, goes a long way. How do we gain that expertise? Just have to go see some homes. It's that simple. I would add and see some homes over time, right? So we're seeing all the inventory in our niches. We're seeing what they sell for over an extended period of time. We're seeing how many offers they get. And obviously, as you go and you work day in and day out, you keep an eye on the market day in and day out, you have a better pulse of what's going on in your local markets. So become an expert. It is advantageous. It is of benefit. It is helpful to our buyers. Concessions. When I say concessions, it's not the sellers that are giving anything up and conceding. It is the buyers. Can anybody tell me what is the first thing that usually goes out the window? What's the first thing that the buyers give up usually when in multiple offer situations, when it gets really, really competitive?
About inspections.
That's right. That is a buyer to purchase as is, with the exception of environmental, structural, mechanical, health, safety issues, whatever you want to add. On a rare occasion, I've never done this unless it's a buyer that's buying it cash to flip it or something like that. You can waive your inspection contingency with the exception of an oil tank. Yet, you want to, those are two different things, by the way. Waiving your inspection contingency and saying I'm buying it as is with the exception of, those are two completely different things. They still have their inspection contingency protection. So if there's an issue, an item of concern, they can always come back and raise it with the sellers. So what else is something that the buyers are conceding? Appraisals is a big one, even though appraisal issues are less of an issue moving forward because of all the comparables, all the high comparables that have already closed. A lot of lenders are already just waiving the physical appraisal. They're doing desktop appraisals at this point. And obviously, if we have a concern for the appraisal as a list from the listing side, from a seller side, then that does strengthen an offer compared to somebody that does not. So when they waive their appraisal contingency, not their appraisal, they're waiving their appraisal contingency, or they cap it. They limit it. They limit their exposure. So that's another thing that they're doing. There are other creative ways, like if the seller doesn't know where they're going or they need a purchase contingency, and we discover that, you can get creative and you can come to an agreement on what's known as a use of occupancy, also known as a leaseback. So just to make sure that everybody's on the same page from the get-go if you do come to agreement on that or anything else. The last thing you want is to communicate, to get an executed agreement only to allow the attorney who wasn't aware that you waived the appraisal or said as is, or are doing a lease back, to get all upset because they didn't know. So get everybody on the same page when you're sending those transaction cover sheets and the executed agreement over to all parties. Terms, it's an easy question, really easy question, to ask when the seller's preferred closing date is, yet many agents don't even ask that. Again, pick up the phone, ask some questions, even simple. I will share with you that I've never had a listing agent tell me none of your business when I ask this question. They will, if they had it their way, they'll have all the offers have the same closing date. Now, sometimes they'll say, oh, we don't care. Sometimes they'll say, you know what, we need 90 days, we need 60 days, we need 30 days, we want to finish the school year, whatever. Sometimes they'll say, they don't know where they're going. We need as long of a closing as possible. I need you to be as flexible as possible. That's when the leaseback use of occupancy can strengthen an offer. Because if I approached a listing agent and said, hey, would it be helpful to your seller if we closed on the property, they stayed in the property, they put all their equity in their pocket, which allowed them to now go ahead and purchase a home without a sale contingency, would that be helpful to them? And the answer is yes, because it's exactly what a leaseback does, right? It provides them that ability. So have conversations, ask them some simple questions. It will benefit your buyers. I would say that the buyer's agents that are not picking up the phone and not asking questions, those are the buyer's agents that are not promoting their buyer's best interest. Do not just click and send. Be better than the rest. Escalation clauses, actually, it's a rarely used tool, seldomly used tool, even in today's market, even though we hear it a lot more often lately. It's just a tool. When things go really crazy and you just don't know where it's going. I don't personally like them. And some agents, I will tell you, there are times you should not be using them. Some agents and some sellers are anti-escalation clauses. Ask them before you submit it with an escalation clause if it's okay. And then, of course, if you're competing against a cash offer and they're very similar, they're very close in offer price, an escalation of $1,000 over the next best offer is not going to help you if you're up against a cash offer. So there's certain scenarios you don't want to be using, is what I'm looking to communicate to you guys. Highest and best, it's the best tool for a listing agent and a seller to squeeze top dollar out of a buyer's and a buyer's agent. It's the more common one, yet I will encourage you to ask the question of the listing agents, do you anticipate doing a highest and best, or is the seller just selecting one? On a rare occasion, they do just select one, and you do not want to be the agent that recommended to your client, hey, Mr. and Miss Buyer, let's submit an offer at asking. As a strategy, let's update our offer right before the deadline. There is no deadline. They didn't select your offer. Congratulations, you are this close to getting fired by your client. Ask the question. Right, letters to sellers, pretty controversial as of late. Yet this does strengthen in multiple offer situations, whether you like it or not. be careful with them. I always have to put that asterisk next to it. Be careful what you put in these letters or these emails. The agent can say they're very, they love the house instead of doing the letters. The lender can say these are very strong qualified buyers. They can even call the listing agents. There's all kinds of different ways to strengthen offers that are not even on this list. Yet we have a limited amount of time. Honestly, every single slide I went through, I do hour classes just on each individual slide. That today we're looking to just cram as much information as possible within 1 hour, and we're going very, very quick. And that's also why I speak very quickly naturally. So let's keep going. Inspections, right? This is an objection that comes up very, very often. Now we need to educate our buyers as to what it means when we're purchasing an as-is condition, with the exception of. Do they know what that means? They do not know what that means. They do not do this day in and day out. We do this day in and day out. We need to communicate to them, educate them, help them understand what that means. And the majority of, or many, many homes in our areas, whether it be Bergen or Passaic counties, the original heat source was ding, 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 oil tanks, right? So there's a lot of abandoned oil tanks. They have to understand that's environmental. And of course, asbestos on the insulation on the piping and the 9x9 tiles, and sometimes in the ceiling, and termites and lead paint and pest control, pest issues, and cracks in the foundation, or defects with the roof, or mold, or radon, or septic. We have to let them know what it covers, what's entailed when we say as is with the exception of, or what's considered major issues. Because if we do not, they will create their own expectations, and that's where surprises happen. And last but not least, I wrote this last column. I called it a sitter service because while it is not in our occupational description to be on top of everybody and everything, if you want to improve the likelihood it gets to the closing table, you might want to. You might want to be on top of your attorneys and lenders and home inspectors, and environmental companies, insurance brokers, appraisals, plumbers, electricians, and handymen. And of course, if there is no CO that has been obtained by the seller or the listing agent, then are you closing? And while you could close in some scenarios with an escrow, it does make it difficult. I need you to understand that there is something called a rate lock, right? And that expires at some point. And a rate lock extension costs a buyer money. And if the seller is not ready to close and that rate lock expires, are they a happy camper? And the answer is no. Be on top of everybody and everything. Okay, guys? And that is the end of the slideshow for today. I'm going to ask you guys, are there any questions that anybody wants to ask? Is there any comments anybody wants to make? Is there any opinions anybody wants to share? What you guys got for me in the last few minutes? Actually, we're 1 minute over already. What you guys got? I covered everything. I did a good job then. Awesome. Well, I trust everybody got value out of today. And if you have any questions about anything at all, you're welcome to reach out to me. Phone, email, text. I'm always very, very responsive. And of course, if you have any referrals in Bergen County, we'll take good care of them. Trust me. So I want to thank everybody for being here, for your participation. I do trust you got value out of today. I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon, and maybe about a more specific topic. Let your leadership know what subjects you'd like to cover, and I will be there. All right. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Have a great day. Have a great week. I wish you well. Let's get back to work.